The first signal came on a quiet Tuesday night. Dr. Emma Roberts sat in her dark office at the Arecibo, Iowa Observatory, staring at her computer screen. The coffee in her mug had gone cold hours ago, but she barely noticed. Her eyes were fixed on the strange pattern of waves dancing across her monitor. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself, adjusting her glasses. The signal was unlike anything she had seen in her 15 years of searching the stars. It wasn't random noise. It wasn't a pulsar. It was something else entirely. She reached for her phone with shaking hands and dialed the observatory's director. "Sir, you need to see this. Now." Within an hour, the quiet observatory turned into a bustling center of activity. Scientists rushed around with tablets and laptops, checking and double-checking the data. The signal kept coming, stronger and clearer with each passing minute. 300 miles away, in a secure military facility, Commander David Wilson was woken by an urgent phone call. The tall, broad-shouldered officer had seen many strange things in his 20 years of service, but nothing prepared him for what he heard. "Commander, your presence is required at the Pentagon. Immediately." The drive to Washington was tense. Wilson's mind raced with possibilities. When he arrived, he found himself in a room with the Joint Chiefs of Staff and several worried-looking scientists. Dr. Roberts was there too, looking exhausted but excited. "Ladies and gentlemen," the chairman began, "what you're about to hear stays in this room." Dr. Roberts stepped forward, her presentation appearing on the large screen behind her. "At 2300 hours last night, we detected this." She played the signal. It filled the room with a strange, pulsing pattern that made everyone's skin crawl. "It's a message," she continued. "And it's not coming from one place. It's coming from everywhere. Hundreds of sources, all synchronized, all pointed at Earth." Wilson leaned forward. "What does it say?" "We're working on decoding it, but—" She paused, taking a deep breath. "The pattern suggests intelligence, advanced intelligence. We are not alone, Commander. And whoever they are, they know we're here." Over the next few days, strange things began happening across the solar system. The Mars rovers stopped responding. The James Webb Io telescope went dark. Gravitational readings from Jupiter showed impossible fluctuations. In his office at the Pentagon, Wilson reviewed the mounting evidence. Reports flooded in from space agencies worldwide. Something was changing in our solar system, and Earth was at the center of it all. A young lieutenant burst into his office without knocking. "Sir, you need to see this." On the TV screen, amateur astronomers' videos showed strange lights appearing around the moon. They moved with purpose, forming patterns that defied natural explanation. Wilson's secure phone rang. The president herself was calling an emergency meeting. As he hurried through the Pentagon's corridors, Wilson couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was about to face its greatest challenge. The warning signs were everywhere. Whatever was coming, it wasn't friendly. In her lab, Dr. Roberts worked tirelessly to decode more of the signal. Each breakthrough brought more worry. The message contained complex mathematical formulas, star charts, and something else, a countdown. "My God," she whispered, checking her calculations for the 10th time. "They're not just sending us a message, they're coming here." The countdown would reach 0 in less than a week. Wilson stood at the window of his office, watching the sunset. The sky looked different somehow, almost heavy with anticipation. His phone hadn't stopped ringing all day. NATO, the UN, every major military power on Earth wanted answers. He thought about his family, about all families on Earth. Soon, everyone would know. Humanity wasn't alone in the universe, but instead of bringing hope, this discovery brought dread. The next morning, observatories around the world reported a new phenomenon. The stars were disappearing, one by one, as if something massive was blocking them from view. Dr. Roberts called Wilson directly. "Commander, the signal, we've decoded more of it. It's not just a message or a countdown. It's a verdict." "A verdict?" "Yes," her voice trembled. "Whatever's coming. They've already judged us. And Commander, we've been found wanting." As Wilson hung up the phone, he looked at the morning sky. Where there should have been blue, there was only a strange, shimmering darkness. Humanity's greatest trial was about to begin, and no one was ready for what came next. The universe had plans for Earth, and they weren't good. The ships appeared at dawn. They came not in ones or twos, but in thousands, giant silver vessels that made aircraft carriers look like toy boats. They hung in the sky like metal clouds, silent and still. Every TV channel, every radio station, every phone and computer screen on Earth suddenly showed the same image. A tall, blue-skinned figure with 4 eyes looked out at humanity. When it spoke, its words came through in perfect English. "People of Earth," the creature said, "we are the collective. We govern this galaxy, and you are contaminated." In the Pentagon's war room, Commander Wilson watched with other military leaders. Their weapons were ready, but everyone knew they would be useless against ships of this size. "The contamination in your species was planted by criminals," the alien continued. "A dead race who tried to play gods. Their genetic marker flows in your blood. For this crime, you must be contained, quarantined, left to your fate." Lieutenant Susan Cooper sat in her underground lab, listening to the broadcast while studying blood samples. She was young for her position, but brilliant. As the alien spoke about contamination, she looked at her microscope with new interest. "What if it's not contamination at all?" she muttered, adjusting the microscope's settings. Above the Earth, a strange energy field began to form. It started as a faint shimmer, like heat waves on a hot road. Then it grew stronger, forming a bubble around the entire solar system. The alien's voice continued. "The barrier we create will let nothing in or out. Your fate is sealed. This is the law of the collective. We are not cruel. We are just. Goodbye." The screens went dark. Panic spread across Earth. People rushed to stores, buying everything they could. Others hid in bunkers. Some prayed. Some cried. But in her lab, Lieutenant Cooper didn't panic. She worked harder than ever, studying the contamination the aliens feared. Hour after hour, she looked at blood samples under her microscope. Something wasn't right about the alien story. "Commander Wilson." She called on her secure line. "I need to show you something." Wilson arrived at her lab an hour later. He looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. "Look at this," Cooper said, pointing to her screen. "The genetic marker they're talking about. It's not random. It's not contamination. It's more like an upgrade waiting to happen." Wilson leaned closer. "What do you mean?" "It's like a computer program that hasn't started yet, but it's perfect. Too perfect to be an accident or a contamination. Someone put this here on purpose." Above them, the energy barrier grew stronger. Astronauts on the International Space Station reported that nothing could get through. Earth was truly sealed off. In cities around the world, people watched the alien ships through telescopes and cameras. The vessels never moved, just hung there like silent guards. Cooper worked day and night, studying the marker. Each discovery made her more excited and more worried. "Commander," she said one morning, her voice shaking, "I found something else. The marker, it's starting to wake up." Wilson looked at her computer screen. Strange patterns moved across it, like a code coming to life. "What's causing it?" he asked. "The barrier," Cooper said. "The energy they're using to trap us. It's actually activating the marker. Whatever this contamination is, it's responding to their technology." In hospitals across the world, doctors began reporting strange cases. People were changing. Not in a bad way, but in ways that should have been impossible. A construction worker lifted a fallen beam that should have taken 10 men to move. A child in rural Kansas solved complex math equations without being taught. A swimmer in Australia held her breath underwater for 20 minutes. The collective had meant to contain humanity, to let them die slowly in their cosmic prison. But they had made a mistake. They didn't understand what they were dealing with. In her lab, Cooper looked at her own blood under the microscope. The marker in her cells was glowing now, pulsing with a faint blue light. "Commander," she said, her voice firm, "I don't think we're contaminated. I think we're chosen." Wilson nodded slowly. "How many humans have this marker?" "All of us," Cooper replied. "Every single one." Outside, the alien ships continued their silent watch, unaware that their prison was becoming humanity's crucible. The change they feared had begun, and it was only the beginning. Robert Bob Hayes was fixing a car when it happened. He was just a regular mechanic in a small garage in Ohio, working on a stubborn engine that wouldn't start. As he reached for a wrench, the heavy car jack slipped. 3 tons of metal came crashing down. Bob raised his hands in reflex. He caught the car. With his bare hands, he held up a vehicle that should have crushed him. His arms didn't even shake. The car felt as light as a cardboard box. "What the hell?" he whispered, carefully setting the car down. His hands glowed with a faint blue light, then returned to normal. Similar scenes played out across the globe. People discovered abilities that shouldn't have been possible. The genetic marker that Lieutenant Cooper had studied was waking up, changing humans in amazing ways. At the Pentagon, Commander Wilson watched video after video of these transformations. A teacher in London who could now speak every language she heard. A farmer in Brazil who could control plants with his mind. A doctor in Japan who could see inside her patients without x-rays. Lieutenant Cooper burst into his office, her eyes bright with excitement. "Commander, it's happening faster than we thought. The marker isn't just changing us, it's improving us, making us better at what we already do best." Wilson looked at her closely. "What's your change, Lieutenant?" Cooper smiled and solved a complex equation on his whiteboard in seconds. "I can see patterns now. In everything. Numbers, physics, even the alien barrier technology. It all makes sense." Reports flooded in from every country. The changes weren't random. People developed abilities that matched their skills and interests. Athletes became stronger. Artists saw new colors. Musicians heard impossible sounds. Bob Hayes, the mechanic who could lift cars, found he could now understand machines just by touching them. He could feel how they worked, what was wrong with them, how to make them better. "Mr. Hayes," Commander Wilson said, walking into Bob's garage one morning, "we need your help." The military had started gathering people with the strongest changes, not to control them, but to understand what humanity was becoming. Bob's garage became a testing ground for his new abilities. He touched broken tanks and planes, fixing them instantly. He improved engines until they ran better than new. His hands still glowed blue when he worked, and now he understood why. "The marker," Lieutenant Cooper explained to a room full of enhanced humans. "It's like a key unlocking doors in our minds and bodies. Doors that were always there, waiting to be opened." But not everyone was happy about the changes. Some people feared what they were becoming. Others wanted to use their new powers for selfish reasons. The world's governments struggled to keep order. In his office, Commander Wilson received an urgent message. The alien ships above were moving, shifting position for the first time since they arrived. "They know," Cooper said, looking at the data on her tablet. "They can see what's happening to us. And, Commander, they're afraid." Bob Hayes stood at a window, watching the ships move in the sky. He held a piece of alien technology they had found, something that had fallen from one of the ships. In his hands, he could feel how it worked, how it could be changed, improved. "We can beat them," he said quietly. "They're machines, they're barrier. They're not as perfect as they think." Wilson looked at the changed humans in the room. A mechanic who could understand any machine. A scientist who could see the patterns of the universe. A soldier who could now move faster than the eye could follow. And many more, each with their own unique abilities. The collective thought they were trapping us, Cooper said, her eyes glowing slightly as she studied complex data streams in the air. But they actually helped us evolve. The barrier's energy is making the changes happen faster. The alien ships above moved into attack formation. They had realized their mistake too late. They wanted us to die quietly, Wilson said, standing up. Instead, they forced us to become stronger. Bob Hayes picked up a wrench that glowed blue in his hands. So what do we do now, Commander? Wilson looked at his changed team. Regular people with extraordinary abilities. Humans who had become something more. Now, he said, we show them why you should never corner a species that refuses to give up. The awakening was complete. The real fight was about to begin. Dr. Maria Alvarez hadn't slept in 3 days. Her lab at NASA was filled with strange machines, half human technology, half inspired by alien designs. Her enhanced mind could now understand both, and she was combining them in ways that should have been impossible. It's ready, she said as Commander Wilson walked in. Her hands glowed with blue light as she touched the spacecraft she had built. It was smaller than a normal space shuttle, but far more powerful. Will it break through the barrier? Wilson asked. It will, Maria smiled. Because we're not fighting the barrier anymore. We're becoming part of it. The plan was dangerous. A small team would try to break through the collective's quarantine wall. They had chosen 4 people for the mission. Commander Wilson would lead. His enhanced strength and quick thinking made him perfect for command. Dr. Maria Alvarez would go as the engineer. She could fix and improve the ship even in space. Lieutenant Cooper would be their science officer. Her ability to see patterns would help them navigate. And Bob Hayes would be their technical expert. If anything broke, he could fix it with a touch. The ship looked strange. It glowed with the same blue light that now showed up when humans used their new powers. Maria had built it to work with their enhanced abilities, not against them. The collective doesn't understand what they did, Cooper said during the final briefing. The barrier isn't just keeping us in, it's changing us, making us stronger. And now we can use that power. Launch day came quickly. The world watched as the small ship rose from Earth. Above, the alien vessels moved to stop them. Here they come, Wilson said from the pilot's seat. Everyone ready. The first alien shots missed. The ship moved like it was alive, responding to Wilson's thoughts as much as his controls. Maria's design worked perfectly. They reached the barrier. It shimmered like a giant soap bubble around Earth. Up close, they could see patterns in it that normal humans had never noticed. There, Cooper pointed. The energy flows in cycles. We can slip through when it's weakest. In 3, 2, 1. Wilson pushed the ship forward. The barrier stretched around them. For a moment, everything glowed blue. Then they were through. Alarms blared immediately. Collective ships surrounded them. They were bigger up close, like floating cities made of metal. Bob, Wilson shouted as the ship shuddered. We're hit. Bob Hayes put his hands on the damaged wall. Blue light spread from his fingers, and the metal healed itself. But he saw something else too. Commander, he said slowly, these alien ships, they're old, really old, and they're not as advanced as they want us to think. A voice boomed through their ship. Humans, you dare to break quarantine. This proves your species is too dangerous to live. Cooper laughed. No, she said, looking at streams of data only she could see. This proves we're exactly what we were meant to be. She had found something in the barrier's code. The genetic marker that the collective called a contamination. It was a gift, left by an ancient race that had seen humanity's potential. Maria's hands flew over the controls, making the ship even better as they flew. They're trying to box us in, she said. But their technology. It's like they stopped improving a long time ago. They just used the same old things. The collective ships fired again. But this time, the humans were ready. Their small ship danced between the shots. Where hits landed, Bob fixed the damage instantly. Maria's engines, improved by her enhanced mind, outran everything. They had made it to space. They had proved the barrier could be broken. But they found something even more important. The collective, for all their power, were stuck in the past. They hadn't changed or grown in thousands of years. They were afraid of change, afraid of races like humanity that could adapt and improve. "We're not going back yet," Wilson said, looking at a nearby collective ship. "First, we're going to show them why they should never have tried to cage us." The small human ship turned to fight. 4 enhanced humans against an ancient alien empire. And for the first time in centuries, the collective knew fear. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. Kate Morrison used to fly regular fighter jets. Now she piloted something very different. Her new ship, built using Dr. Maria Alvarez's designs, moved like it was part of her own body. Blue light flowed from her hands into the controls. "Operation Phoenix is go," she said into her radio. Behind her, 100 similar ships launched from Earth's surface. Each pilot was enhanced, each ship built with their new powers in mind. The collective hadn't expected this. Their ships were bigger, but they relied on artificial intelligence to fight. They hadn't counted on human pilots who could now think faster than any computer. Kate rolled her ship through space, dancing between enemy shots. Her enhanced reflexes made everything seem to move in slow motion. 3 collective ships tried to trap her. She smiled. "Watch this," she said, spinning her ship in a way that should have been impossible. Energy beams from her weapons cut through all 3 enemy ships at once. Commander Wilson watched from the command center on Earth. Screens showed the battle unfolding in space. Humanity's small fleet was winning against ships many times their size. "Their AI can't adapt," Lieutenant Cooper said, watching the data streams. "It's using the same patterns over and over. Our pilots learn and change with every minute." The collective's voice boomed across all channels. "This is impossible. You are nothing. A primitive species." "No," Wilson replied to the transmission. "We're what comes next. The race you feared had a reason for choosing us." More human ships launched. Each one was unique, modified by its enhanced pilot and engineer. Some were fast and small. Others were heavy with weapons. All of them glowed with the same blue light of humanity's awakening power. Bob Hayes worked in the launching bay, touching each ship before it took off. His power let him improve them even further, making them stronger, faster, better. The blue glow from his hand spread through each vessel he touched. "The collective's ships are old," he told Wilson. "They haven't really changed in thousands of years. They just kept building the same things over and over." In space, Kate led her squadron against the largest alien ship yet. It was the size of a small moon, but she saw its weakness right away. Her enhanced mind could spot patterns that revealed where to hit. "Squadron, follow me in," she ordered. "Hit the spots that glow darkest. Those are their oldest parts, the ones they never thought to improve." The human ships moved like a swarm of angry bees, their blue energy weapons cutting into the massive alien vessel. Where they hit, ancient metal crumbled. Dr. Maria Alvarez's voice came over the radio. "Their whole empire is like this. They found a level of technology they liked and just stopped. They forgot how to adapt, how to change." The giant ship broke apart under Kate's attack. As it died, its computers released a flood of data. Lieutenant Cooper caught it all, her enhanced mind sorting through thousands of years of alien history in seconds. "Commander," she called to Wilson, "I found something. The race that changed us. The collective didn't just fear them. They destroyed them. But not before that race hid their greatest gift in our DNA." Wilson watched as more collective ships retreated. "What were they called?" "This race that believed in us. They called themselves the Cedars," Cooper replied. "They saw humanity's future, saw that we would never stop growing, never stop trying to be better. The collective killed them for believing in change." Kate's voice crackled over the radio. "Well, they were right to believe in us. Look." The massive alien fleet that had surrounded Earth was breaking apart. Some ships fled, others fell to human attacks. The barrier that had been meant to trap humanity was weakening. "Send the message," Wilson ordered. All human ships broadcast at once. Kate spoke for them all. "We are humanity. We will not be contained. We will not be stopped. And we're coming to free every other race you've tried to chain." The collective's response was immediate. "You cannot. This is not the natural order." "The natural order," Kate said as she led another attack run, "is change, and you're about to see a lot of it." The battle for Earth was becoming a battle for the future of the galaxy, and humanity was just getting started. Dr. John Carter sat in a room filled with blue light. As a genetics researcher, he had always been good at solving puzzles. Now, with his enhanced mind, he could see the puzzle hidden in human DNA itself. "It's not just random changes," he told Commander Wilson and the others. "The Seeders left us a message, written in our own genes, and now we can finally read it." The message began playing on screens around the room. Not in words, but in memories. Memories from thousands of years ago, stored in humanity's DNA, waiting for the right moment to wake up. They saw the Seeders for the first time. Tall, peaceful beings made of crystal and light. They had watched Earth for a long time, seeing humanity's potential. "We choose you," the memory message said, "because you never stopped trying to be better. The collective fears this. They killed us for helping younger races grow. But they cannot kill the gift we left in your blood." Lieutenant Cooper watched the data streams with glowing eyes. "The collective has ruled for 50,000 years, she said. They found other young races like us, races that could have grown powerful." The memories showed more. Planets quarantined like Earth. Species left to die slowly. The collective's fear of change had killed countless civilizations. "But why now?" Wilson asked. "Why did our powers wake up when they trapped us?" Dr. Carter pointed to new data appearing on his screens. "The barrier they built around Earth, its energy matches something in our DNA perfectly. The Seeders planned this. They knew the collective would try to trap us, and they made sure that trap would set us free instead." Bob Hayes walked into the room, his hands still glowing from fixing ships. "That's why their technology seems so simple to us now," he said. "The Seeders gave us the ability to understand and improve anything we touch. The collective just copies the same old things." More memories played. The Seeders had visited Earth many times, watching humans solve problems, build tools, help each other survive. They saw how humans shared knowledge, how each generation tried to make things better for the next. "You are our hope," the message continued. "The collective must learn that change is not death. Growth is not danger. You will show them this truth." In space, Kate Morrison's voice came over the radio. She had found something while fighting near Jupiter. "Commander, there's a collective ship here, different from the others. Older." Dr. Carter's eyes widened as new memories surfaced. "That's it. That's their library ship. The Seeders knew about it. All the collective's history is stored there." "Can we capture it?" Wilson asked. "Already working on it," Kate replied. Her squadron surrounded the ancient vessel. "It's not even fighting back. I think it wants to be caught." Lieutenant Cooper's mind reached out, connecting with the library ship's computers. Information flooded in. The collective. They weren't always like this. They used to explore, to learn, to grow. But then they got scared. Scared of changing too much, of losing who they were. "So they stopped," Carter said. "They forced everyone else to stop too. They killed the Seeders for trying to help younger races grow. They thought they were protecting the galaxy. Instead, they were freezing it." The library ship's data showed everything. Thousands of years of the collective stopping any species that tried to change or grow. They thought they were being wise. They thought they were keeping order. But order without growth is death. The Seeders' message said, "You understand this. This is why we chose you. Humanity always reaches for the stars, no matter how many times you fall." Wilson looked at his team. A doctor who could read DNA like a book. A mechanic who could improve any machine. A pilot who could outfly computers. A scientist who could see patterns in everything. Send this to every human ship, he ordered. Everyone needs to know what we're really fighting for. This isn't just about us anymore. The message went out. The truth about the collective, about the Cedars, about humanity's role in waking the galaxy from its long sleep. We're not just fighting for Earth, Carter said. We're fighting for every race they've tried to stop, every civilization they've tried to freeze in time. The final battle was coming. And now humanity knew exactly what they were fighting for. The future itself. The final battle began at dawn. Earth's enhanced fleet, led by Kate Morrison, faced the collective's remaining ships. The barrier that once trapped humanity had become thin and weak, full of holes made by human attacks. Commander Wilson stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, a massive vessel that Bob Hayes and Dr. Maria Alvarez had built together. It glowed with bright blue light, powered by the same energy that now flowed through human veins. All ships, report in, Wilson called. Alpha Squadron ready, Kate's voice came back. Her ships moved in perfect formation. Engineering ready, Bob said from his station, his hands glowing as he touched the ship's systems. Everything's running at 200%. Science team ready, Lieutenant Cooper added, watching battle patterns form in her enhanced mind. I can see their weak points. The collective's voice boomed across space. This is your last chance. Return to your quarantine. Accept your place. Wilson smiled. Our place is among the stars. And we're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. He was right. The library ship had shown them other worlds, other races trapped like Earth. Some were already dead. Others were dying slowly. But some still had hope. All ships, Wilson ordered, begin Operation Freedom. The battle exploded across space. Human ships moved like bright blue stars, fighting with skill and power that the collective had never seen. Their old AI systems couldn't keep up with human pilots who learned and adapted with every passing second. Kate led her squadron straight for the collective's main ship. They still think in straight lines, she told her pilots, so let's show them some new tricks. Her ship spun and twisted in impossible ways. Where the collective's weapons fired, they found only empty space. The humans had already moved. On the flagship, Bob touched the ship's weapons. Blue light spread through them, making them stronger, better. They never improved their shields, he said. They're the same as they were 1,000 years ago. Lieutenant Cooper's eyes glowed as she read the battle data. Their fleet is dividing. They don't know how to handle enemies that keep changing tactics. The collective tried to surround Earth's ships, but humans had spent their whole history learning to fight against bigger, stronger enemies. Each pilot knew what to do. Now, Wilson commanded. All at once, human ships released the energy they had absorbed from the barrier. Blue light exploded across space. The collective's ancient shields couldn't handle this new power. Their ships began to fall. Wait, Lieutenant Cooper called out. Something's happening. On the collected ships, lights began to change. Some turned blue. Others simply went dark. A new voice came across the radio, different from the collective's usual cold tone. This one sounded young, excited. We see it now, the voice said. We remember how to change. Wilson leaned forward. Explain. We were young once too, the voice replied. We used to explore, to grow. The Cedars were our teachers, before we became afraid. And now we remember why they chose humanity. More collective ships stopped fighting. The blue light of change spread through their fleet. Your victory today, the voice continued, wasn't just with weapons. You showed us what we lost. The joy of discovery, the power of change. Kate's squadron held position near the flagship. Commander, orders. Wilson thought about the Cedars' message, about their hope for the galaxy. To any collective ships who remember how to grow, he said, we offer peace and a chance to learn together. The response came from hundreds of ships at once. We accept. Over the next few hours, the fighting stopped. The old collective leaders, those too afraid of change, fled into deep space. But many stayed, their ships now glowing with the same blue light as Earth's fleet. The Cedars were right. Dr. Carter's voice came over the radio. Humanity's greatest power isn't what we can do. It's how we show others that change is nothing to fear. The barrier around Earth faded away completely. But now humans had a bigger job. There were other worlds to free, other races to help grow. Well, Wilson said, looking at the stars that waited for them, we better get started. The galaxy's been frozen long enough. Time to help it grow again. Kate's voice came back, excited. Where to first, Commander? Wilson smiled. Everywhere. After all, that's what humans do best. We explore, we learn, we grow. And this time, Bob added, his hand still glowing with the power to make things better, we're not doing it alone. The stars waited, and humanity was ready to help the galaxy live again.